This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about fortify your data and protect yourself from cybercrime. Now, as I've mentioned earlier this week, there was a massive data breach where almost 3 billion pieces of information about Americans, and this impacted other countries as well. 3 billion pieces of data, addresses, social security numbers, names, previous places of work, all kinds of stuff leaked online. It'll be interesting. I don't think we fully know the full extent of this yet and how bad it really is and how many people it impacts, but certainly probably most of us. So what can we do to prevent that? And what can you do if you do become a victim of cyber theft? So that's what I want to talk about today, because there are millions of us who become victims of cyber theft every single year. A lot of us don't know about it until a long time after it happens, and that's not good. Like I talked about earlier this week, they're getting more and more sophisticated. It's harder to keep up. We want to focus on the most important steps to take, which is good online hygiene, passwords, unique passwords, using two-factor authentication, being very suspicious and cautious when it comes to any unsolicited emails or text messages you receive. Doing the 20% of things right is going to prevent 80% of the problems. So, what happens though if you are a victim of cyber theft? Well, rule number 1 is don't ignore or dismiss notifications about login attempts, being locked out, credit card usage in unknown areas. The sooner you catch the cyber theft or the fraud, the easier it is to restore order to your credit, which is why it's so helpful to check your credit report for signs of fraud or things that you don't recognize. So, what are the specific steps that you can take? Well, the good news is there's a really good resource online. It's identitytheft.gov/steps. So if you are a victim of identity theft, especially like tax related stuff, a lot of tax return information was leaked. Anyways, whatever the situation, the first thing you want to do is call the company where you know the fraud occurred. And you can get a copy of your credit report. You can place a fraud alert. You want to report that identity theft to the Federal Trade Commission. And then, depending on what it is, in many cases, you may choose to file a report, a police report. And then this can take a long time and require a lot of work to unwind and fix. And in many cases, it can take years because you're going to have to close accounts. You're going to have to try to remove bogus charges. That's not always possible. I had a client who fell victim to a phishing type scam, and they ended up stealing $30,000 from her bank account. There was nothing that could be done. So there's steps that need to be done to fix your credit report, fix your credit, close those accounts, probably end up freezing your credit anyways. And that's why, to the extent that you can, you want to try to prevent it from happening in the first place, because it takes so much time and headaches and money to fix it. If someone misused your social security number, there are other steps that you want to take. So the point is here that depending on where it is, the great resource online, identitytheft.gov, is the first place you want to go if you're aware of something that has happened. And the neat thing is they have steps you can take for certain types of accounts. So if someone hacked into your utility account, they used your information to get like cable set up for them, there's a list of steps that you want to do. If someone gained access to your bank accounts or your checking accounts, so they're writing bad checks, you can do that. If someone gained access to your investment accounts, this happens all the time. In my profession, we have to be very vigilant and have strong protocols in place to prevent this. And it's always evolving. It's always changing. It is hard to keep up with, both for you as an individual and me as an individual, but also for companies to keep up with, which is why it's more and more common. And then there are like tax identity theft, child identity theft, medical identity theft. And it's just a great resource to give you some steps to take if you become a victim of some type of cybercrime. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.